Hello, this is Donna Miller, and this is the Vote Voice podcast. Vote Voice is a nonprofit 501c3 nonprofit, and we're dedicated to getting out the information about voting, voter registration, voter education, and anything that we need you to know about voting and the importance of voting. We're here to tell you about it. You can follow us on Twitter. We're on Instagram. You can go to the Vote Voice website at www.votevoice.com. Thank you for your donations. We thank you for your support. And we hope that you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Donna Miller, and this is the Vote Voice podcast. Today we're going to talk about the responsibilities of the city clerk, and we're going to talk about what are the duties and talk about the history of the Board of Canvassers in Michigan. Now, anything I say about Michigan, you can usually adapt these things by your state. I suggest that if you're not in the state of Michigan, that you go and search out the history and duties of your canvassers in your state and your city clerks. Get to know who your city clerk is and where your city clerk is located in your state. Let's start with the city clerk. Now, the city clerk's office is responsible for a number of different functions, both to residents as well as city council, city departments, boards, and commissions. The city clerk office is serving as the official keeper of records, and the clerk maintains all the files and permanent records such as ordinance, resolutions, and minute meetings. Now, the city clerk is responsible for attending all city council meetings. As clerk to the mayor and council, the clerk prepares and distributes agendas and maintains an accurate record of meeting proceedings. Now, the city clerk chairs the election commission and serves as an ex officio member of the Board of Canvassers. The clerk provides voter registration and serves as a custodian of all contracts and deeds. The clerk administers oaths as required under the city charter or laws of the state of Michigan, and the clerk is the custodian of the city seal. Now, basic services provided by the city clerk's office is voter registration and election administration, business licenses, vendor and solicitor licenses, garage and yard sale permits, dog tag licenses, birth certificates, and death certificates. And check with your local city clerk because I think it depends on, I think they may have like a cutoff date. Now, anyone wishing to contact their local, county, state, or federal officials may receive assistance from the city clerk's office. Now, let's see. There's some other things there's some other things that the city clerk is responsible for. Notary. Did you know that? The city clerk's office main goal is to serve its citizens, and they should do that to the best of their ability. Isn't that something? A lot of us do not know what our city clerks do. You know what? As I was researching this information, I didn't know that the city clerk served as a notary. Some people did. And when you think about it, you might not know that you need to go to the city clerk about block parties and yard sale permits, garage and yard sale permits. Okay, here's something else you can do for the city clerk. Going to your city clerk's office. You can go to your city clerk's office to pick up new resident welcome packets, board of trustees meeting agendas. You can request to make comments at the board meeting, view minutes by board and commissions. Of course, your applications for voter registration and absentee registration. You can go there to get your garage sale permits, your freedom of information requests. Now that's something else you do at the city clerk. Your election results, your candidate petition forms, your bid packets. You can view code of ordinances and purchase historical maps and books. Isn't that something? The reason why I'm doing this today, okay, is because I think that we have lost our knowledge of what our city and our states and our local federal governments do. And I think that if we understand what our governments do, we would not be so frustrated and become angry when we perceive an injustice, or if we hear theories about what's happening in our government. You can call up your city clerk if you have a question about an election. You do not have to listen to a person's, well, I think you do this or I think you do that. And if you're listening to this podcast, if you're not sure, send someone to their local city clerk office. Let's start going to places and concentrating on real facts and honest, real information. And any information anyone needs about an election, they can pick it up at their city clerk. And I also think that in the town that you live in, you have a clerk's office. So if you're concerned about when there is an election, or if something needs to be done a certain way, or what you need to do, you can call up your city clerk. If you've just moved to a location, I've said this before and I want to say this again, please make sure that your city clerk, your election official, knows when you've moved, that you change the address on your voter registration form, and keep up your telephone number. We change our addresses with the post office, with our work, with our utility companies, with our friends, but we do not maintain our voter registration. So this is something that we need to do, get in the habit of doing at the city clerk. Now, we've learned that the city clerk's office is the keeper of records for the entire city. We know that we register to vote. Okay? We know that if you move, you need to update your address, and that you can do this at your city clerk's office, or don't forget your Secretary of State office when you change your address on your driver's license. But don't wait 4 years to change. If you move to a new city, you must register to vote in that city. Now, you can do this at your new jurisdiction, city clerk's office, or secretary of state, like, when you change your address or on your driver's license, but don't wait. Okay, because, you need to have the same address for your voter registration and your driver's license. Okay, so here is a note. If you change your voter registration address, your driver's license address will change. And the reverse is true in Michigan. Voter registration information may be obtained if you're in the state of Michigan at www.michigan.gov. Okay? This is wonderful. Now, let me just say this again because I think this is something I kind of passed over. The city's clerk's office is the coordinator for all Freedom of Information Act requests. Okay? So remember that. That's something I don't think a lot of people know. Okay? And then we know the animal license, your business licenses and fees, your garage sale and yard sale, and these things that we talked about later, just a few minutes ago. And guess what? Compost stickers. Excuse me. You can pick up a compost sticker at your city clerk's office for your garbage can. Call up your city clerk's office. Okay? Call it up. You can get your zoning maps. You have to pay a fee. And a copy of the ordinances. You have to pay a fee. It's like, it depends on where you're going. It shouldn't be over $1. But if it is, you can just, check with your city clerk. Okay? And let's see. Enforcement and complaints of ordinances are done at the city clerk. Requests and complaints regarding ordinances are submitted at the city clerk's office. Okay, and then the request or complaint will be forwarded to the proper department for resolution. Isn't that something? We don't realize what our city clerk does. Do we? I didn't, because I think that we take things for granted, but 2021 is the beginning of a future and an understanding of how our governments work, how we work within it, and we need to have an appreciation and respect, a renewed appreciation and a renewed respect of our government. And on the flip side, I'm sure that they will have a renewed respect and new appreciation of us. We need to all work together. And I think that if we understand how our government works, it will work better for us. And we need to make sure we vote. We need to make sure that we vote in every election. You need to check and see what elections are coming up in your city. Okay? And how do you do this? Your city clerk's office. Okay, and I know that we have some special elections coming up here in Michigan and a few other elections coming up. And let us keep abreast of that. And how do we do that? Through the city clerk's office and the Secretary of State. Okay? That's how we do that. I'm talking about the city clerk's office and today, and I'm going to make a podcast soon, eventually, about the Secretary of State. Okay? So we'll know what the Secretary of State does. So that we can know how our government works. That's information that we have. And also, too, if you have the correct information about how a system works, how our government works, you will not fall victim to misinformation. Okay? Let's talk about the history and duties of the Board of State Canvassers here in Michigan. Okay? Now, the Board of State Canvassers were created by the state constitution of 1850. Now, over the years, the structure of the board has changed. Currently, the board is composed of 4 members who are appointed by the governor with the advice and consent of the Senate. Now, this is something we didn't know. And, until this last election, and, a lot of questions were brought up about this last election, I never even thought about watching what the Board of Canvassers did or thought about the Board of Canvassers. That's because our governments do work. They work so well that we have taken our government for granted. We are so relaxed and trusting in our government that we have had the government sometimes officials to take us for granted as voters. But it's important now that these things change. We must stay woke, as they put it, and we must make sure that our elected officials understand what we expect of them. We want them to keep their promises. That is why we voted for them. Right? So we need to stay woke and understand how our system works. Then we won't be frustrated. We won't fall victim to misinformation and in some cases downright lies. Now, 2 board members are selected from each of the 2 political parties receiving the greatest number of votes in the last election for Secretary of State. Board members serve a 4-year term. The terms are staggered so that the term of a Republican seat and a term of a Democratic seat expire in February of each odd-numbered year. We didn't know that, did we? Like I said, until the last election, we had, many of us, I'm guilty too. It's like, okay, I never really thought about the Board of Canvassers. How important is the Board of Canvassers? Very important. Now, here are the duties of the Board of Canvassers, okay? And these duties include canvassing and certifying statewide elections, elections for legislative districts that cross county lines, and all judicial offices except the judge of the probate court. Conducting recounts of state-level offices, canvassing, nominating petitions filed with the Secretary of State, canvassing state-level ballot proposal petitions, assigning ballot designations, and adopting ballot language for statewide ballot proposals. Let me read that one again because we didn't know that. The Board of Canvassers are responsible for assigning ballot designations and adopting ballot language for statewide ballot proposals. I didn't know that. And approving electronic voting systems for use in the state. Now that's the state of Michigan. If you're not in the state of Michigan, you need to go and find out what the Board of Canvassers are responsible for in your state. I bet you it's pretty much the same, but you should know exactly what's going on in your state. And I hope that my podcast encourages you to learn about what is going on in your state, what's happening with your elections, and I hope that it is encouraging you to keep up with your elections. Okay? I thank you so much for listening to the Vote Voice podcast. This is Donna Miller with Vote Voiced. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter. We're on Facebook, TikTok. I want you to visit us at www.votevoice.com. That's our website. I want to thank everyone for their support and their donations to help us get this word out. We are going to be here. We're going to be dedicated to getting out information about the vote. And I'm going to make it my business this year to share as much information about the histories and duties of our local governments and officials. Because we need to know what people are responsible to do so that we will be informed voters. And I think that that's very important for us today. Listen, God bless you all. Stay safe. If it's a little chilly out there, stay warm. I know it's so funny. We complain about winter. We can't wait for summer to come, and then we can't wait for winter to come. I don't know why people do that, but we do. I thank you so much. This is Donna Miller with Vote Voice. You have a wonderful day. Bye.